चल रही है हमारी साइंस टॉक्स इंटरेक्शन विद कश्मीर साइंटिस्ट्स। इसमें हम उन लोगों की बात करते हैं जो कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं लाइब्रेरीज और लेबॉरेटरीज में बैठ के और कभी सीख नहीं करते हैं अपने एक्नॉलेजमेंट कि हमने ये किया या ये करना चाहिए। उनकी एक्नॉलेजमेंट यही होती है जब उनके जो स्टैंडर्ड प्रैक्टिसेस होते हैं या उनकी इन्वेंशंस होते हैं या उनके इनोवेशंस होती हैं वो लोगों की ज़िंदगी में तब्दीली लाती है, वही उनका एक्नॉलेजमेंट होता है। हमने आज दरख्वास्त की है हमारे जाने माने के मौलिज गैस्ट्रोएंटरोलॉजिस्ट डॉक्टर मोहम्मद सुल्तान खुरू साहब को। डॉक्टर साहब, आपका खुशामदीद है कश्मीर लाइफ के शो में।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। एंड मुझे बड़ी खुशी हुई कि आपने ये सीरीज़ की है अबाउट रिसर्च एंड अबाउट साइंटिस्ट ऑफ कश्मीर।
डॉक्टर साहब, कोई भी प्रोग्राम कश्मीर के साइंटिस्ट के हवाले से हो और प्रोफेसर खुरू ना हो तो वो नामुकम्मल प्रोग्राम है। हम शुरू करेंगे इस बात से जो रिसेंटली हम किसी तरह से थोड़ा एज पे हैं ऑन कोविड-19 जो है वो जो एडवाइजरी कमेटी जम्मू कश्मीर सरकार ने बनाई थी, आप यू आर हेडिंग दैट। पिछले 2 वेव्स जो रहे उसमें हमारे तजुर्बात क्या रहे जो हम तीसरे वेव को प्रिवेंट कर पाएंगे?
हमने 2 कम्प्रहेंसिव रिपोर्ट्स दी। कम्प्रहेंसिव पहला जो रिपोर्ट था कि ये जो कोविड की सेकंड और थर्ड वेव वो कैसी होगी और कैसी हुई, और जो आगे जो वेव्स आएंगी, मेडिकल टर्म्स में कहते हैं सर्विलेंस कैसे किया जाए। सर्विलेंस हो गया कि आप वॉच कैसे करोगे कम्युनिटी को, इस वक्त क्या मसला है और आगे क्या हो सकता है। तो उसमें सर्विलेंस में हमने बड़ा कम्प्रहेंसिव रिपोर्ट दिया। टेस्टिंग वाज इम्पोर्टेंट, वैक्सीनेशन वाज वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट। वैक्सीनेशन के इफेक्ट्स हैं जो वैक्सीनीज हैं ऑलरेडी, हाउ विल दे रिएक्ट जब उनको और कोविड हो जाएगा। जिन्होंने वैक्सीन नहीं किया है उनका क्या असर हो जाएगा। ये दिस वाज अ सर्विलेंस रिपोर्ट एंड दिस हैज बीन वाइडली सर्कुलेटेड। ये तो पहला रिपोर्ट था, दिस वाज सर्विलेंस रिपोर्ट। जो दूसरा रिपोर्ट था दैट वाज वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट कि हम कैसे प्रिपेयर हो जाए अगर वेव आ जाएगी किसी भी सूरत में। तो दैट वाज बेसिकली ऑन हेल्थ केयर डेवलपमेंट। That was also a very comprehensive report. That was also discussed with all the functionaries and they agreed on that. तो उसमें से गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत से एक्शन ली हैं, अभी एक्शन कुछ होने वाले हैं और आगे भी जब कोई ऐसी सिचुएशन हो they can take action. उसके बगैर जब भी कोई क्वेश्चन हुआ गवर्नमेंट ने पूछा हमसे, जैसे ये टेस्ट रैपिड टेस्ट की क्या पोजीशन है, RT-PCR की क्या पोजीशन है, ये ड्रग है इसकी क्या पोजीशन है। हालांकि there is already functionaries, the ICMR is doing its work and Government of India is also giving their own reports, but even then we relooked at that and हमने Government of Jammu and Kashmir को उस पर कोई I think about 18 or 20 reports we gave, short reports. अब तो position है, we are much better off and we are relaxed. तो जो कमेटी की जो that function, we are not under pressure because COVID has really started. Maybe it is the beginning of the end, or maybe it is probably we are near the end.
Lull before the storm.
No, I think it is not lull before the storm. I don't expect a storm, inshallah. But I think it is beginning of that. I think it probably is the beginning.
Let us hope so. नाज़रीन, मैं आपको बता दूं प्रोफेसर खुरू साहब ने अपनी पूरे कैरियर में हाजमे का निज़ाम है इसको समझने में ही सिर्फ उसमें मदद नहीं की, उन्होंने कई नई डिस्कवरीज की, कई नई बीमारियों पर खोज की। लेकिन उस सब पे बात करने से पहले खुरू साहब से ये पूछेंगे कि इनकी लर्निंग करो, इनका जो सफ़र रहा कैसा रहा।
मसूद साहब, मैं ऐसे अर्ज करूँ कि जब मेरी पैदाइश हुई it was the most difficult time for Kashmir. If you see between 40s to 50s to 60s, क्या परेशानियाँ थी। We were just under governance by a different rule.
By family.
By a family, and they had ruled already for nearly 100 years. And Kashmiri की position आपने देखी. So उस वक्त I was born that time when there was a lot of turbulence. 1944. So into that area there was so many events happened which were quite unusual, and so मेरा बचपन तो it was really quite turbulent in that. But alhamdulillah, my family, we were from a family which was quite educated, and जो support में है. My grandfather was a Persian scholar. He's, अगर आप उसकी recitation सुनेंगे, people were saying कि परिंदे भी, they would really get paralyzed. And I would always go in the morning and listen to his recitation. Haji Sultan Khuroo, he was scholar in Persian in Quran, and he had contact with lots of Sufi, the saints. So that was one. And second, my father and uncle, and they were also Persian. उस वक्त तो Persian ही ज़्यादा था. They were also Persian educated and very well read. So 57 was the worst year in Kashmir, in Sopore, not in Kashmir, because that was the floods of Kashmir. It stayed for it nearly destroyed Sopore. And most of my classmates, they dropped out because there was nothing to eat for about 1 to 2 years. There was a floods of Sopore, then there was a drought. 58 was a drought. Very bad time in Sopore. That flood did not come in Srinagar. It came only to Sopore because of Poru. The Poru was in Spain and that blocked the Jalim, and Sopore got drowned. It was specific for us and specific for me because I was a school child. And overnight, I was in first floor, that is about 15 feet from the ground. I was swimming in water, and that stayed for about 6 months. So I had to do lots of other activities to stay in the schooling. I did some business as a child, and I also taught my classmates. कोई 2 पंडित लड़कियां थी, but more I had to go and teach them so that we could get some sort of income for my personal use, not for the family. Alhamdulillah, but then there were good schools. Baba's school was, that was a Jabri school. I went to a Jabri. Jabri, do you understand?
I understand Jabri school, yes.
We were, people say Sheikh Abdul did it, but some people say Maharaja did it. I am not sure who invented the Jabri schools. That's a part of the history, I'm not interested. But I went to a Jabri school, that was Baba Yusuf, but teachers were very good. Then I went to high school, then I went to college. So जब मैंने 12वीं, there were excellent teachers in high school as well as in college. Then we went to medical college. There were excellent teachers, but they were not local teachers. They were all got from rest of India. They were devoted, highly devoted. And then it was taken by the local crowd. Then I did my MD. Finally, I went to PGI for gastroenterology. I met Dr. Chutani and his team, an extraordinary person. I learned from him. And after that, I came back and joined the institute and stayed 14 years in the institute. And then the things were again turbulent, so I had to go 10 years to King Faisal Special Hospital. In between, I went to New York Blood Center for doing training only in hepatitis. This is one of the best centers in the world, New York, in Manhattan. And the people who, while there, actually should have got Nobel Prize for Hepatitis-E, although he didn't get it, Blumber got it, but Dr. Prince was, I trained with him. So this whole journey was a continuous learning, hard work, dedication, motivation and research.
जो आपका रिसर्च रहा, वो हेपेटाइटिस से शुरू हुआ या हेपेटाइटिस से पहले आपने कोई काम किया?
पहला जो काम था, which was most important, was in PGI. I published a paper in a green journal, which was that time like New England Journal now. That was green journal was that time in 70s. I published a paper of 105 patients of Badshari. Every मेरे Facebook I just put up a news on that कि मैंने उस वक्त कैसे वो काम किया. 105 patients. I discovered a new syndrome that was on pregnancy-related liver. So that time I was a DM student. I was motivated to do research. So alhamdulillah, उसके बाद में आया. I came here in 78, and that time the epidemic came up. जो सोपोर में आया. I just moved out from medical college. तो उस वक्त तो मैं then I got caught up in Hepatitis-E discovery.
ये जो प्रेगनेंसी रिलेटेड लिवर पे काम किया उसको हम नाज़रीन को कैसे बहुत आसान लैंग्वेज में बता सकते हैं कि
बेसिकली बर्चारी सिंड्रोम जो लिवर का है, इसकी जो वेन लिवर की होती है वो ब्लॉक होती है.
अच्छा,
ये कॉमन डिजीज नहीं है.
अच्छा.
तो मगर मैंने 16 साल जो पीजे का ग्रोथ हुआ उसके सब पेशेंट मैंने देखे और 40 पेशेंट मैंने खुद इन्वेस्टिगेट किए और 105 पेशेंट का एक रिपोर्ट बना दिया, एक डॉक्यूमेंट बना दिया. उसमें मैंने देखा कि 16 पेशेंट ऐसे हैं जो प्रेगनेंसी के साथ हैं, वो कभी डिस्क्राइब हुआ नहीं था. सो आई डिस्क्राइब ए न्यू सिंड्रोम इन दीज 105 पेशेंट्स एंड उसकी फिर मैंने शक्ल बताई कि ये कैसे होती है प्रेगनेंसी में, ये वेन जो लिवर की होती है ब्लॉक होती है. इट वॉज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पेपर. इट केम इन ग्रीन जर्नल. इट इज very well referred even today also. So
that was the first.
That was the first. I would say that was the first hardcore research I did. My research is that research which crosses the ocean. So the research I did here did cross the ocean. But Barchari syndrome, as soon as I published, it was first published in Green Journal. That comes from US. It became it already crossed the ocean.
आपका बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन, आपके बहुत सारे, लेकिन जो मेजर है वो हेपेटाइटिस ई में आपका काम है. लेकिन वो हेपेटाइटिस जो बेसिकली हेपेटाइटिस है क्या और आपने उसमें क्या किया?
One day I got a phone call, not on a mobile but on a landline. I was in SMHS, तो somebody called from Sopor. तो मेरे वार्ड 3 में मैंने फ़ोन उठा दिया. कहते हैं डॉक्टर साहब आपने, कहते यहाँ परेशानी, हमको सोपोर में क्या परेशानी? यहाँ जैसे काम है 60 grams, everybody is jaundiced, but the problem is somebody who is pregnant disappears. तो ये चलो यहाँ pregnant ladies रही नहीं सोपोर में. मैंने कहाँ से आई है? So he gave me a list from Tangmar down to Sopor. For 6 months I lived in that area. तो मैंने लोगों को बोला, अपने डॉक्टर्स को बोला जो मेरे थे कुलीग्स, चलो जी वहाँ कुछ परेशानी, कहता है हमको मरना है, वहाँ लोग मरते हैं, हम भी मर जाएंगे जैसे कोविड को. नॉट इवन ए सिंगल डॉक्टर जॉइन मी. अभी मेरे कुलीग्स हैं, उनको मैंने टीच किया है, अभी बड़े बड़े डॉक्टर, नोबडी जॉइन, नोबडी. तो व्हाट डिड आई डू? आई इन्वॉल्व 500 हेल्थ केयर विजिटर्स. आई ट्रेन्ड देम इन फर्स्ट 2 weeks की और सर्वे कैसे करनी है. And this was one of the most unprecedented way to do survey in area. So we surveyed area which is of 200,000 people, and we found that in 6 weeks 53,000 people got disease, 1,700 people died, and most of the deaths occurred in pregnant women. There were only 2 viruses known. It was neither hepatitis A nor it was hepatitis B. So it was a new disease. So it was, we called it non-A, non-B. So we said non-A, non-B is a new disease. It is the disease which kills pregnant women. And it happens in India, and it is because, and we checked very meticulously, it was waterborne. The people who would take water from Ningli Nala, they got disease. The people who took water from, Chashme hote hai na? From wells, they never got disease. Somebody who was from Anantnag, he was coming daily, aate the, they didn't get disease. Only those people got disease who were taking Ningli Nala water, and not others. So we said it's a waterborne disease, and then water was polluted. Its E. coli count was in thousands because there were all latrines all along the Ningli Nala that was polluting the Ningli Nala. So we described a new disease which which kills pregnant women, and this was not known, and over the years it came up to be known as, we called it epidemic non-A, non-B. Then finally, once the virus was, we were actually trying to transmit the virus to rhesus monkeys. But before we could get it to the rhesus monkeys, and we did transmit the disease. Russian Dr. Balyan, Dr. Balyan ka medal mere paas hai. There's a medal here. I got his, he died actually, the Russian government has given a medal. They give yearly medal on his name, and I got the first medal. He took fecal samples himself from Afghanistan and got the disease and got the virus into himself before we transmitted to rhesus monkeys.
Oh my God.
And then the virus was known. It came up to be Hepatitis-E virus. So it is, and now that disease is yet, the area is yet under our surveillance. We continued surveillance for about 14 years. Last survey we did was 92. We published a very important 14 years after that. So it's been a story of discovering a new disease when I just came from Chandigarh, because inside me there was something lurking. Why pregnant women die with jaundice? And now we know why they do jaundice. I wrote a review recently, gave a 23-page article on viruses, a big important paper. Now we know why they die with Hepatitis-E. So it's become a new disease. Millions and millions of infections happen all over the world. यहाँ पर तो waterborne है, but in Europe and United States it's not waterborne, because it's pure water. They take sausages.
Right.
But that sausages they make from the pork liver.
Okay.
Pork liver होता है, उसकी sausage बनाते. Pork is invariably infected with Hepatitis-E. Actually, all animals are infected with Hepatitis-E, and pork is one of them. And they take sausage from the pork liver, and they get hepatitis. So it's very common in Europe. Till late, it was not even known that उनके पास भी Hepatitis-E है, more than us. There was the pathri. Because whenever I would go to US or Europe, nobody would listen to me. Post lecture demand, at the end, everybody would disappear. Now I went to Berlin last few years back. The hall was packed, and I was the star. People were saying, "Oh, what is all this? What you have been telling all these years now? This disease is with us, more than it is with you."
How did your community, the medical researcher, scientific fraternity, respond to what you found?
Very interesting. The first I went to Pune. I went to Pune to those people who had taught me. I had just come from PJ, so I told them this is a new disease. What nonsense is talking? The whole hall was silent. Although I got the first prize in that in Pune conference, but the whole hall was completely silent. Nobody asked a question. Then after about 1 minute, Dr. Madan Gopal, a very senior gastroenterologist, he asked one question. Could it be toxins? He asked a relevant question, so I answered that. There was a lot of skeptics. Even the people who now own Hepatitis-E, they were saying, this is not Hepatitis-E, this is Hepatitis A. But then, skepticism on one side, but you have some friends also who really support you. Dr. Huda, very important person from Japan. He always believed in me. He's a friend of mine. He said that what you're saying is right. And these are the earlier days, not now. Now nobody can question it. Now they write the review, they write my name first. But I'm telling you, when it was coming up, he supported and he always kept. So you have in this whole research, when you do something new, you have skeptics which keep you very, very alive and on your toes, but you have some friends which believe in you, and you have some wise people who give you wisdom also. So it's all a complex situation. Research is not an easy thing.
Hepatitis-E did bag somebody Nobel.
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
No. Hepatitis B has got a Nobel Prize in '64, that was Dr. Blumberg. Hepatitis C, which is the same, you see, I called it epidemic non-A, non-B. The hepatitis C man, Alter, called it post-transfusion non-A, non-B. That turned out to be hepatitis C, and this turned out to be hepatitis B. Both were non-A, non-B. There were two papers, one from Dr. Alter, who was from NIH. He published a paper in Lancet, post-transfusion non-A, non-B. That turned out to be hepatitis C, which is a major issue. Now we have a treatment for that. The reason he got Nobel Prize because the drugs are known and it's a disease which can be cured. This disease turned out to be hepatitis C. Now we have a vaccine. Once this vaccine comes out of China, I think somebody should get Nobel Prize on hepatitis C. Obviously those people who were involved in the discovery, and I was number one person. But that Nobel Prize cannot be considered because it went through 2-3 rounds in the Nobel committee. So hepatitis B got Nobel Prize, hepatitis C got Nobel Prize last year. Dr. Alter and his team, 3 people. Your biomedical research here, this is something which doctors have to raise questions within themselves, and they should have the way to answer that, and then they can take help from the basic scientists. You see, once they reach a particular stage, it needs motivation. Tremendous, you should be motivated. So many things get disturbed in your life if you do research. Your family, your economy, your finances. You may have to ask for कि मैं शाम को क्या खाऊं. You may not have that, and ask your secretary or your colleague, थोड़ा पैसे दे दो मैं कुछ खाऊंगा. Because there's no money in research.
Yes.
It's not like I sit in the clinic and make $100. You don't make any bucks there. You only spend time. Then important is, but very important, you answer questions which God has kept hidden. Like hepatitis-E was a hidden treasure. And so we discovered that now millions are infected with hepatitis-E. We treat them, we understand them. And second is, it needs dedication, it needs ethics. Very important. Ethics is something in research. Ethics, what does for a basic doctor, what does ethics mean? That means you use proper techniques and proper methodology. Last part is you should have a leadership quality. You should be able to get the team along with you. जैसे मुझे दोस्त ने भी no doctor joined me. I got healthcare visitors with me. So this is the leadership quality. And then you should be able to communicate, travel, and face the skeptics. And listen to those few people who are wise and who are with you. This is, so you may do excellent research and you may have excellent ideas and you may bring that out. If you cannot sell it, and if you can't do shopping, it's a shopping. If you can't sell and shop, your research gets waste. Doctor, अब मैं research करूँगा तो patient को छोड़ो. No, because this is the biomedical research is connected with the patient. So you have to stay with the patient to stay with the research.
नाज़रीन, मैं बता दूं आपको कि प्रोफेसर खुरू साहब ने जो भी रिसर्च किए, he has maintained every bit of record. चाहे वो एक ज़माने में जब हम वीडियो यूज़ करते थे, बड़ा कैमरा, उसके बाद सीडीज़ आ गए, उसके बाद कंप्यूटर्स आ गए, सब कुछ रिकॉर्ड है प्रोफेसर साहब की लाइब्रेरी में. लेकिन प्रोफेसर साहब, मैं पूछूं आपसे कि हेपेटाइटिस ई पर आपने तो काम कर लिया, लेकिन उसके बाद आप कभी रुके नहीं. You continued exploring the new things in our जो हमारा निज़ाम हाजमे का निज़ाम है, digestive system है, track है. तो what were the new things that you did in the subsequent year?
I got caught up in the institute when I joined. The first thing got caught up is SKIMS. ये हमारे मेडिकल कॉलेज में डॉक्टर वर्मा थे, SR वर्मा. He would say कि अगर आपको किसी कश्मीरी को ट्रीट करना है from cold to cancer, give him antipar. Antipar is treatment for SKIMS. एक थो antipar, वो बंगाली था. एक थो antipar. Right from cold to cancer, he says Kashmiris have so much of SKIMS कि एक थो antipar दे दो वो ठीक हो जाएगा.
SKIMS क्या है?
SKIMS is आम कौशल चुना. So he says because this was so common, but 80% children were infected. Even when I was a child, everybody had and I said, "Jama tetanus तरसाते." I don't know, आपने tetanus लिया कभी?
बिल्कुल देखा है लेते हुए.
लिया नहीं. अगर आपने लिया होता तो आप देखते, you would curse yourself, and I cursed myself to take tetanus. It was, and my mother would give me two doses in a season, and that day I would just shiver कि मुझे tetanus लेना है. That was for SKIMS. But when I went to the institute, कुछ ऐसे हुआ कि there were some problems of young ladies who would come and they would get abdominal pain and nobody would know what's going on with them. And they would go, then they would send them to a psychiatrist. Why people are coming so much and in particular young ladies, and they have upper abdominal pain, they get admitted, you drip दे दो, injection दे दो, फिर वो कुछ देखो कुछ नहीं है उनको. So we investigated it. What was happening? This worm in the duct was getting into the intestine was getting into the duct, bile duct, gallbladder. It would cause severe pain. And by the time you investigate, because worm is a highly motile structure, it would come back. It would do nothing. So you would have to pagal lड़की, you would go psychiatrist, क्या था वो दिमाग उसको go so जो Dr. Abdullah dostum do psychiatrist, yeah, Dr. Hawk. You know Dr. Hawk?
Dr. Hawk I have heard about.
Yes. So Dr. Hawk's suju क्या क्या है suju because there's something wrong with them with your daughter. So we investigated it and we found that this new disease called biliary ascaris, this was not known before. That was the first disease, and now it is, everybody knows it. You can see with ultrasound and all that. And now this is all because what I did first. The second thing I did there was that hydrated cyst, which was very common, cyst in the liver. Atherosclerosis patient and surgery, and many patients, youth hydrated cystitis, and surgeon would take hours to operate. I was thinking, why can't we aspirate it? But kitabun was like, don't aspirate hydrated cyst because it will kill the person. So I said, let's look at it. Does it kill it? It didn't kill. And then we could put a needle and treat it. I discovered a new technique called a peer technique. That is WHO, there is we published a paper in England journal also, and there's one manual on peer technique. That is from WHO. It's a completely new innovation of how to treat hydrated, and now anybody who's hydrated, you go to the institute or in your SMH, they put a needle there and treat it. We put up a system of how to treat it.
You were the first to discover it.
That's right. That's right. We did that in the institute. It was melanasa, black motion. Black motion was rampant. This was SMH, most 2.5 the patient was black motion because of the ulcer. So I found that this black motion can be treated. You don't need necessarily surgery. It can be treated by proton pump inhibitors. We did experiments for 6 years and then published a paper in England Journal of Medicine that you can treat black motions by PPIs. A huge, big innovation. A remarkable discovery. And last part is, these are major ones. We discovered a disease called portal biliopathy, which is completely not known in the West, discovered from here, and now it's so common, so much known about it. Yeah, major discovery.
What is it, the last one you talked about?
Last one में जो portal hypertension बच्चों को आसान, their portal vein gets blocked. It's very common here, extrahepatic portal hypertension. Human was, I sent 2 patients to senior surgeon who had gallstones, and both patients unfortunately died. So we tried to find out why these 2 people died. Gallstone, just simple operation karan, patient should not die. So you see, you have to ask a question, not go after the surgeon, but help the surgeon, why these people? We found that they had block of the portal vein. So we described that somebody who has portal vein block gets a bile duct disease. We called it portal biliopathy, and we did work for about 3-4 years on this disease and described it in hepatology. It's an important, very important paper. It's a completely new phenomenon of a disease. Now we know that somebody whose gallstone has, we see in ultrasound portal vein block, don't send him for surgery. First treat the portal vein block, then do the surgery. So
it is the now standard protocol.
All is standard protocol. We described that protocol. Any patient I have seen since ages, they are all being documented here. His images are documented, his records are documented. अभी हमने Dr. Khuroo's medical clinic में 60,000 patients देखे. All their documents are there. They are not here now. They are in my computer. But ये तो हैं, these are the patients.
Digital era से, pre-digital era.
Because in research, one of the very important things is documentation. You have to keep, because if you want to go back,
you should have answers
to
what you say.
You just trace. जैसे हमने ये nodal lymphoid hyperplasia 100 patients हमने described किए. We didn't know that what was the cause. We went, called all those 100 patients and got them back in 2 months and found out they have one common disease which is not known before. It's very interesting how you do research. We found few patients. We said, this looks new. Let's go back on 60,000 patients. How many people? We found 100 people like this. Get them back.
नाज़रीन मैं आपको बता दूं डॉक्टर साहब ने जिन बहुत सारे डॉक्टरों को अपने करियर में पढ़ाया है वो बहुत बड़ी पोजीशंस पे काम कर रहे हैं इस वक्त दे आर स्प्रेड अक्रॉस द ग्लोब लेकिन डॉक्टर साहब आप खुद क्या कर रहे हैं इस वक्त आप तो बैठने वालों में नहीं हैं आप तो किसी न किसी डिजीज पर तो काम ही कर रहे हैं
continue staying in Dr. Khuroo's medical clinic, number one. So I have contact with patients. May not be at that level as before. After all, you have to slow down.
Yes.
I help the government agencies for COVID was one. SKIMS is another. Any issues with SKIMS? I'm on the governing body and also the research committee. I deal with SKIMS Medical College, their growth. I'm on the there. I ran a Dr. Khuroo's Medical Trust, which would probably be, it had gone slow because of first floods and then COVID. We want to reactivate that now. It did a lot of good work to start with. But I continue writing. If you want me to say, do I write about institute? This is one. I just wrote recently about the institute. How should we look way forward? It's not my business, but then I do that. I mean, this is what the trust does. How should we look forward to the institute? The institute is a very important component of healthcare and very important structure which is with society. Well, how should we look forward to that?
ये जो हमारी कन्वर्सेशन रही आपके साइंटिफिक परस्यूट्स के हवाले से आपके लर्निंग कर्व्स के हवाले से आपने ने जो बहुत ही डिफ़िकल्ट सिचुएशन में रिसर्च इंट्रोड्यूस की क्योंकि नॉर्मली देखा जाता है कि एनीबॉडी वो मूव्स आउट ऑफ मेडिकल कॉलेज हैज़ टू बी ए क्लिनिशियन तो बाकी जो सवाल बहुत कम हम पूछते हैं तो जवाब की बात ही नहीं है बट लेकिन एक सवाल जो मैं वैसे एक एज अ लेमैन टू साइंस हमारे यहाँ अल्लाह ने मतलब दिस ह्यूमन बॉडी इज़ वन ऑफ द मोस्ट कम्प्लेक्स स्ट्रक्चर्स दैट द यूनिवर्स हैज़ क्रिएटेड लेकिन इसमें तो हमें जो पढ़ाया गया क्लासरूम्स में हमारा जो दिमाग है दिस इज़ द अल्टीमेट थिंग दिस इज़ द मेडुला ऑफ दिस इज़ द बेसिकली द सेंटर ऑफ आवर एक्टिविटीज़ लेकिन अब बहुत सारे लोग कहते हैं कि वी हैव गट फीलिंग एज वेल तो सिंस यू अंडरस्टैंड द गट बेटर व्हाट इज इट ऑल
about research?
Yeah. Gut feeling. Do our stomachs think?
I'll tell you something which I don't know whether you ask me this question, but I can answer you one thing. The amount of manpower which is in the medical society here is huge.
Enormous, yes.
Huge. And all of them are supposed to do research. Unfortunately, there's some good work being done. I'm not saying that. There's some good work being done in this scenario. But if you have 100 people and they should do 100%, 100 points they should get research. I think that although they do that 100 point, but 90% of it or 80% of it or large percent of it is duplication. A very small percentage which is something original. The reason for that is, and I have written it to all the governments, जो government यहाँ आए, whether they are from the governors, whether they are the chief ministers, or whether they are now we are integrated. To all the governments I read, that this is a huge industry. It can make tremendous amount of inputs into science, provided you don't duplicate it. And you have not to, nothing is to be changed. You don't need more money. You don't need more people. They are already there. They are doing work. They have to do work. The only thing is, they don't duplicate. They do something original. How they do original work, this needs a tremendous monitoring at the level of the institutions. Like I sit on this, and say, okay, this fellow is doing, this boy is doing his MD or DM, and he's doing research. Is this research going to be of utility to the community? And then once he does the research, he does it exactly the way science goes. Don't think I did research कि मैंने क्वेश्चन पूछा और मुझे जवाब मिला. This is not research. You have to go through meticulous methodology. You need tremendous amount of statistics, you need tremendous amount of thinking, you need tremendous amount of uninformed information, you need support from, I have had support from all the best centers in the world to do this research. Maybe NIH, National Institute of Health, CDC, then Dr. Deermer was from Holland, then Dr. Akuda, then his team, Dr. Miami. These are people who were stalwarts that time, or ICGB, or All India Institute, or PGI, you talk about anyone. So I have communicated, you have to have collaborated with them, because your questions cannot be answered by yourself, कि मैं ये करूँ और ये question मिल गया मुझे. You have to get, and then to get their support, you have to be a leader to communicate with them. So you have to build up communication, you have to build up contacts. Suppose I would call Dr. Purcell at the NIH. I could telephone Dr. Purcell, I need this job. He said, okay, come on. So research is not done only that you have a question, you will answer. Research is done by a person who has contacts with these people, who understand who is who communicates with these people.
डॉक्टर साहब, आपकी ज़िंदगी और इसमें जो चैलेंजेस रहे बिल्कुल आपके बचपन से वो बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त थे, लेकिन हमेशा जब सिचुएशन टफ होती है तो इंसान भी टफ होके ही कोई अचीव कर पाता है. आपकी जो ज़िंदगी का अब तक का कंट्रीब्यूशन है बहुत ही इमेंस है, बहुत ही मैसिव है, एंड हमें उम्मीद है कि इट विल गाइड द न्यू जनरेशन इन प्रॉपरली अंडरस्टैंडिंग द इकोसिस्टम इन विच वी लिव. Ask questions and try to find answers. डॉक्टर साहब, आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, आपने हमें इतना वक्त दे दिया.
बहुत शुक्रिया मुझसे साहब, आप आए और आपने मुझसे सवालात पूछे. I hope I could live to your expectations, and I hope this program also goes to those people who are the people who receive it very well.
Inshallah. Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum.